Bad news, folks. I'm back. Well, folks, after several months of not getting to listen to the dulcet tones of me doing the Tinfoil Hat Club, you have me back. You still won't get to look at my pretty face for a while. I've changed facilities and haven't gotten the video set up yet. But you will start being able to listen to my blowhard pontificating on American politics once again. Now, other than the lack of video, nothing's really changed. You're still going to hear me highlighting government stupidity, whether it's wasteful spending, legislation and rules that further erode our freedoms and our rights, or the many ways the United States is slowly but certainly becoming a police state. In my opinion, it's already not much different than a police state, and it's currently being run by a narcissistic, thin-skinned, Messianic bastard not much different than Hugo Chavez in Venezuela or the Castro brothers in Cuba. And yes, it is still my intention to piss you off. I want to piss you off so bad you will be constantly on your representative and senators' collective asses. I want to piss you off so bad that if there is a town hall style meeting within 50 miles of you, you will show up. I want you to take to heart the late Robert Novak's admonition to always love your country, but never, never trust your government. I think it's even more important now than it used to be that I piss you off, and here's why, people. I don't think there's going to be a second American Revolution. I think the second American Revolution's already started. The only question is, will it be a revolution fought with words and votes at town hall meetings, in letters to your senators and representatives, in personal, in-your-face confrontations every time you encounter a government official? Will it be fought at the ballot box? Will it be fought in the media and in our discussions with each other? For the most part, that's how it should be fought now. But let me tell you something. Before the second American Revolution is over, if we the people don't get serious about fighting it that way, it will soon be a second American Revolution that has blood in the streets. The progressive left, with its liberal, communist agenda, with its agenda for the all-controlling government that strips the rights from the people and gives all power to a central authority, that progressive left agitates for social change using Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. And Alinsky's overarching rule that applied to each and every other rule was that the end justifies the means. Any means. And that includes blood in the streets. If this second American Revolution reaches that point, freedom-loving Americans who believe in the constitutional republic that the founders of this nation gave us will only have two choices. We can be the good little sheeple that the federal government, that all of the federal government, Republicans and Democrats alike, representatives, senators, the president, and the regulatory bureaucracy, that all of the federal government wants us to be. We can be good little sheeple that knuckle under to an oppressive government without an ounce of self-sufficiency or self-respect left. sucking at the tit of the nanny state. Or, if the Second American Revolution must get bloody, if the progressive left continues to erode our way of life, continues to take ethics and morals out of government, continues to force government interference into our businesses, our schools, our churches, and our homes, and is willing to use whatever means necessary to justify their ends, including blood in the streets, then people who love our constitutional republic had better be willing and ready to fight back in kind. Our forefathers were willing to fight. They were willing to pledge our lives, our fortunes, our sacred honor in resistance to an oppressive King George. The first American Revolution started over a lousy damn tea tax, for God's sake. In this second American Revolution, we would be fighting for our very way of life, to live as free people, not as slaves to the government. There. That's why I want to piss you off. So enough pressure can be brought on Washington that we fight the Second American Revolution the first way. The bloodless way. Not the bloody way of the progressive left. So let's see what I've got up my sleeve today to piss you off. Today's topics are going to be that silly little thing they have going on called the sequestration, continued government efforts to turn us into a bunch of sheeple who won't fight back, who'll just knuckle under to an oppressive government, and a few thoughts on what the government will do if we do not turn into sheep for them. On sequestration, the first thing we need to know is that when your representatives or your senators or the president or the Secretary of Defense or Janet Big Sis Napolitano or anyone else says that these draconian cuts are going to devastate parts of the federal government, you need to remember one thing. They are nothing short of bald-faced liars. There are no cuts. None. Zilch. Zero. Nada. There is not one single cut in spending under sequestration. Anybody that tells you differently is a liar. What sequestration does do is decrease the amount of anticipated increase in budgets from one year to the next. Let's keep it simple for the government types. This year, let's say the government spends $100. It anticipates spending $110 next year. These draconian cuts mean that next year the government can only spend $105 instead of the $110 it had anticipated spending. That cut in the anticipated increase is the draconian cut that everybody is whining and crying about. That's what sequestration is all about. There are no cuts to spending. Only to wishful thinking. Now, do you know why all these people, Republicans and Democrats alike, are whining about sequestration? Because sequestration means they won't be able to spend as much money as they want to. That's simple. Government, all government, is an addict, and money is their drug of choice. The only way an addict can quit using drugs, the only way an alcoholic can quit drinking, the only way a government addicted to spending money can quit spending is to quit. Period. That's what sequestration is supposed to do. Cut off a little bit of what the government can spend. Cut the money addict off from his drug of choice. And what happens? Just like any addict, they whine and they beg and they cry these great big old crocodile tears that the detox is going to be unbearable. That they have to have just a little bit more and then I'll quit. Another way they're just like a drug addict. They're lying bastards when they say that they will quit. According to the Congressional Budget Office, in 2013, the government will steal more money from us, from we the people, than ever in history. But it's not enough. According to the Congressional Budget Office, in 2013, the wealthy will have more money stolen by the government than ever before. But it's not enough. It is never enough for government. They always want more. Just like a drug addict. Now, while all this cutting is being done to agencies, while the sequestration is causing draconian cuts to departments all across the U.S. government, my favorite department, the Department of Homeland Security, doesn't seem to be feeling the pinch. The Department of Homeland Security recently purchased, through the Department of the Army, 1,700 vehicles that could only be described as domestic tanks. In military jargon, they're called MRAP vehicles, or Mine-Resistant Ambush Protected Vehicles. That's the Department of Homeland Security buying these domestic tanks, people. 1,700 of them. The Department of Homeland Security does not operate overseas. These domestic tanks are to be used domestically here in the United States. This is the same Department of Homeland Security who has recently purchased $2 billion, that is billion with a B, rounds of .40 caliber and 9mm semi-jacketed hollow point ammunition. Enough ammunition to put 5 bullets in the head of every man, woman, and child in the United States. And the United States is the only place that Homeland Security operates. Plus, they now have 1,700 vehicles designed exclusively for warfare. Are you starting to feel just a little bit spooked? While we're talking about the Department of Homeland Security and the sequester, let's also talk about the Transportation Security Agency, the TSA, for just a minute. While sequestration is allegedly causing the Marine Corps to have to cut its force by over 30% and cut its training in half, and while those draconian cuts are preventing deployment of the USS Harry Truman to the Persian Gulf because the Navy can't afford to gas it up, the Transportation Security Agency slipped in a cool $50 million authorization for uniforms just a week ago, just ahead of the sequestration and draconian cuts. $50 million for uniforms for the TSA. That is $1,000 per TSA employee. That is more per uniform than it costs to put those nice, attractive, impressive dress uniforms on a member of the United States Marine Corps. Oh, by the way, the $50 million that the TSA uniforms are being bought with is being spent to have them made in Mexico, with the money going to Mexican uniform manufacturers, not providing American jobs. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, our children are being trained to be good little sheeple too, and do as they're told and not take any personal responsibility for anything. To rely on the nanny state government for everything, including their own protection. At Cypress High School down in Fort Myers, Florida, which happens to be an area that's known for a lot of gang activity once you get away from the tourist beaches. I ought to know, I've got some property down there in Lee County. A kid on a school bus pulled a .22 caliber handgun on another student, threatened to kill him. A 15-year-old who was also on the bus wrestled the gun away from the attacker. Saved a life. Now, in government thinking, that good deed simply cannot be allowed to go unpunished. After all, The 15-year-old demonstrated self-sufficiency and good judgment, and did something without the help of the nanny state, which cannot be allowed. Proved once again that no good deed shall go unpunished. The kid was suspended for 2 days. The state told him, "Be a good little sheeple, little boy, and let the government do everything for you." That's a wonderful lesson our school systems are teaching, isn't it? Well, I'm going to wrap it up there for the day, folks, with one exception. Let's go back to sequestration for just a moment. Let's go back to Janet Big Sis Napolitano. She had predicted dire consequences for air travel because of sequestration. Because of massive furloughs at the FAA and at the TSA, security lines at the airports were going to be tremendously long. And there would be massive flight delays because we wouldn't have enough air traffic controllers. Extremely long flight delays were going to be the norm. That's what Big Sis told us. Well, I can't tell you how long security lines are because I hadn't been in an airport in the last couple of days. What I can tell you, looking at on my computer monitor here, is that if you will go to fly.faa.gov/flyfaa/usmap.jsp, and there will be a link to it at the bottom of this post, you can find out for yourself if there's going to be if there's delays, any of these massive delays. Because at that site, there's a map that shows 40 major airports in the United States that the FAA considers critical airports. Not a single one is experiencing any delays whatsoever. The website shows this map with the 40 critical airports pinpointed, and each pinpoint can be one of several colors. Depending on the color of the pinpoint, green, yellow, orange, red, and black, you can see how well the system is flowing. Green indicates general arrival and departure delays are 15 minutes or less. Black denotes a closed airport, and the other colors show various stages of delays in between. Well, folks, I got to tell you, the sequester is having a major impact on flying in this country, just like Big Sis Napolitano said. All 40 critical airports are green. Hell, people, there's not even a weather delay. So I guess that's it. Except to remind you that every single time you see an elected official or any government employee, no matter what the discussion is about, no matter if it's an official discussion or just passing the time of day, before you walk away from that elected official or government employee, you look them right square in the eye and remind them, we don't work for you. You work for us. So, until I see y'all next week, you have a good day, a good week, and a good weekend. And remember, y'all come back now. You hear?